Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams. Today, we're looking at the Dragons of Waverly Abbey. It looks like a pretty good live stream. Well, looks like pretty good live streaming fodder, folks. Or just it looks like it's just good article. Well, it just looks like a good article to read. So we're gonna have some fun. So well, share screen and draw artwork from my own upcoming graphic novel, Scumdogs. Here we go. Here is the Extreme 90s cover for my graphic novel. This cover basically harkens back to the early 90s from Image Comics. My book is a celebration of 80s and 90s cartoons and comics. Back when they were good. Now, the Scumdogs, the stars of my book, they're your classic Saturday morning cartoon villains trying to take over the world, because that's what cartoon villains do. But the reason behind it, though, is because they were banned from pro sports. In the far future where my book takes place, thanks to advances in magic and science, people can turn themselves into gods or monsters. Let me mute that, and that proves I'm streaming, so that's pretty good at least. Either way, in the far future, because they can turn themselves into gods and monsters, superhuman competitions are held using these monsters and athletes and superhuman gods as athletes. Either way, the Scumdogs competed for the Scumdog Spur Events Incorporated, a corporation using monsters as the athletes, but were banned from these spur events for life for basically being villains and idiots, and now they decided to use their vast powers to take over the world. They kept calling themselves Scumdogs, like they were used to called when they played for the, Scumdogs Incorporated, just to piss off the owners of the corporation for banning them. It was by Death Mug. Death Mug is a cyborg's, it's the dog's cyborg overlord with the metal mask here. By the way, he's a parody of various villains from 80s and 90s cartoons. If you notice, he has a skull for a face that makes him resemble Skeletor, who is the arch enemy of the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe cartoon, because both characters had skulls for faces. If you also notice, Deathmug's face is also a metal mask, which resembles the metal mask of Cobra Commander, the leader of Cobra and the arch enemies of the G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero cartoon. Like those villains, Deathmug is over the top and arrogant and wants to rule the world. Too bad he's as dumb as dirt, but don't worry, folks, he might be dumb as shit. His arch enemy, the hero of the book, is just as arrogant and stupid as Deathmug himself, Buick Starpoon. Buick Starpoon is the guy with the pompadour hair with the little palm tree going out of it. He's the leader of the Wild Rangers, who are basically my parody of G.I. Joe, crossover Starfleet from Star Trek. Duke Starfleet himself, he's basically what you get if you take Duke from G.I. Joe, crossed him over with Buck Rogers and Captain Kirk, gave him a lobotomy and his own overview and a team to lead, and you get, Buick Starpoon, the leader of the Wild Rangers. Either way, he's dumb as dirt, folks, but as I said, it's par for the book. Now, because the team he leads, the Wild Rangers, are G.I. Joe parodies, that means each member of the Wild Rangers, including Buick Starpoon himself, like G.I. Joe, like the G.I. Joes, each member has a military specialty. That's their special skills and abilities. Buick Starpoon's special skill is that he's a starship captain who leads the Wild Rangers into battle. Now, the Wild Rangers' uniform is Buick Starpoon, this sort of space cadet-looking military star uniform. So anyone on this cover wearing this uniform, they're a member of the Wild Rangers. So let's look at the rest of them now. Over here, this guy with the mohawk, his name is Roadhog. His military specialty is that he's a soldier from the U.S. Army who was transferred over to the Wild Rangers to fight the Scumdogs. Yeah, transferred from the U.S. Army to Wild folks to fight the Scumdogs. Then we have Pounder. He's this bald guy with the gun down here, folks. See him? Military specialty is that he was once a member. Yeah, he was once a member of the Marines. Then we have Blast Tank. Blast Tank is this guy with the helmet over here, folks. See him? His skill is that he's a tanker. In other words, he drives around weaponized vehicles like tanks. And of course, this cover, you see them all on. It's one of 3 different variant covers. That means when you come back my book, you'll have a choice of 3 different covers for your copy of your book, and this is one of them. Of Girl Friday. Girl Friday is a female member of the Wild Rangers. She's a second in command and the lieutenant at the Big Seven. Girl Friday is this woman here with the short hair. Girl Friday, though, hates his guts. She might be named Girl Friday, but she is no Girl Friday. She was assigned to the team, as I said, by her superiors to babysit them and make sure the Wild Rangers do their job. Unfortunately, they consider her a nagging bitch. So they basically ignore her and tell her to sit and spin, which causes her to hate them even more. Then we have Deathmug's henchman, Murder Mouth and Slop. Sloppy is the big fat guy with tentacles growing out of his head, and Murder Mouth is the guy wearing the top hat and leather jacket. These two guys are your classic henchmen villains, total idiots but fun to read about. The guy standing next to them, this hair metal doctor. He's a guy wearing the surgical mask, wielding the electric guitar, along with Miss Breasty over here. Of two characters from, Cobra, the G.I. Joe's enemy from the cartoon, namely their parodies of Dr. Mindbender and the Baroness. Dr. Mindbender inspired me to hair mill doctor because his costume on the G.I. Joe cartoon made Dr. Mindbender look more like a hair mill musician than a mad scientist. I thought, why not create a villain who was a hair mill musician and a mad scientist? So I came up with Hair Metal Doctor, who was that while doing mad science, who was hired by the scumdogs after they became villains. It's why he's a human and not a monster. Either way, he invents weapons and machines for them to take over the world. And she's a herd. The Baroness, as I said. The Baroness was Cobra's top spy and information agent. She was an incredibly rich woman. An incredibly rich woman who became a terrorist and wanted to help Cobra take over the world. In contrast, Miss Breasty Mullins was also an incredibly rich woman who was the CEO of her own company and had everything you could possibly want, but was bored with her life. So when the dogs became villains, she joined them and basically helps them take over the world. Not she believes in them, but because she thinks it will be fun. That's Scumdogs, folks. Go back when it's finally finished. Hit that like button for me. Share this. Now let's go over here and look at some indie codes real quick, folks. Here we have. Let's take a look at this book, folks. Let's jump right into the synopsis. This episodic ongoing monster and mystery series follows New England's supernatural hero, King Cryptid. Every issue is a complete story and is part of a larger continuity printed in a classic style with the glossy covers and newsprint interiors, created, written, and lettered and designed by Peter Schimmetti, published by Alterna Comics. In these 5 issues, King Cryptid will face White Mountain Yeti. Issue 6, Dragon Verdurkin. Issue 7, he meets Werewolf and the Cryptid Hunter Victor Lugo. Issue 8, Zeta Reticulons. Issue 9, Puckwudgies. Not bad. You can back these books for $15 issues. If you have not backed King Cryptid before, you can back all 9 issues together for $25, of course. There's also other perks as well, like you can sign copies of issues 5 through 9 for $25, or signed copies for $45. Not bad. That's King Cryptid. Go look at the King Cryptid 5 through 9 Monsters and Movies up on Indiegogo now. Also, the Blue Bombshell Returns campaign, folks, which we will look at in a moment. But let's read the synopsis. The Blue Bombshell returns. Hey, comics fans, the Blue Bombshell is back, baby. And this time around, she's facing off against a whole new slew of supervillains and arch enemies, as everybody wants a piece of the Blue Bombshell. New bad guys, Thundercock and Super Tits, are looking to make Bombshell before ever becoming a superhero in the first place. And in this campaign, you can back the Blue Bombshell, for $25. You have a choice covers A through D, including an add-on as well. Here's cover A, folks. Pretty good. Now, here's cover B, which is a homage cover to Jim Lee's X-Men 272, which I kind of recommend here, folks. Basically, it's a loving homage to the classic X-Men book, to the classic issue of X-Men. Then there's cover C and D, which are adult cover, folks, meaning that the characters on the fronts are basically nude, meaning that you'll get this picture of censor bars, and you can back it for $50. You have to back issues. You have to back covers C and D together, I think, for $50. Here's cover C, and of course here's cover D. Both of them look great, folks. Then of course there's a cover, which is, or should I say, there's also the add-on cover I meant, folks. Add-on is basically add-on the Trump Wins variant cover for an extra $25 to any of your orders. Not bad. Either way, let's take a look at this trailer now. That's if it loads and stuff like that, apparently. But not too. Do I have to refresh it, I suppose? Either way, that's the Blue Bombshell campaign, or should I say the Blue Bombshell Returns campaign up now on Indiegogo by Clint Helinski. Go back it for $25. Yeah, go back it for $25, but let's take a look at this trailer now. All right. Yeah, it was pretty good, folks. Good song and a good trailer. Go back to the Blue Bombshell Returns campaign up now on Indiegogo. Either way, folks, that was fun. But let me stop screen, go over here, and get the actual article we're going to be reading today up. So, pardon me, folks, let's do it. Here we are. The Dragons of Waverly Abbey. I received let's just jump right into the article because it doesn't really give you too much of a idea what this is, folks, because it starts with this. I received an email from my friend and colleague, British cryptozoologist Richard Freeman. Richard is also the zoological director of the Center for Fortune Zoology. He forwarded the following article about the ongoing investigation of the mass sighting of dragons in England. Hi, Lon. You might be interested in this case for the Phantoms and Monsters site. It involves a mass witness a mass witness sighting who basically, who sighted dragons in England a little over a year ago. It's an ongoing investigation. I'll be going to the area again. All the Best Rich by Richard Freeman. All right. Dragon is the great granddaddy of all monsters. And forget about demons, vampires, and zombies. The dragon predates all of these and other monsters. The earliest dragon legends have been traced to South Africa and date back some 75,000 years. The most powerful, ancient, and widespread monster appears in every culture and country on Earth. Great Britain alone has over 100 dragon legends. Many UK dragon stories feature the beast appearing out of the blue. Terrorizing an area, then simply vanishing as mysteriously as it appeared. There is no hero or damsel in distress. The dragons of Wormingford, Sherford, Enwick, Lincolnshire, and Hawthorne, Yorkshire, are examples of these. Okay, yeah, indeed. These and other dragons are basically they're legends of them in England, folks. They sound very like modern day accounts of mystery animals that turn up, scare and baffle witnesses before vanishing again. Contemporary documents like the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle record sightings of dragons, which are quite distinct from comets, are recorded as something different. Interesting. Over the years, many theories of what lies behind dragons have been offered. The fossil bones of dinosaurs and other huge extinct animals meeting with huge crocodiles and pythons, or a metaphor for energies running through the earth. None of them really cut the mustard as an explanation for the dragon phenomena. Most people, at least in the West, think of the dragon as a folklore creature. Basically, people all over the world claim to have encountered dragons in an age. I've been collecting these accounts for some time. Here are just a few. So, very interesting, isn't it, folks? So, people still, to this day, claim to have seen dragons, both from the ancient times, hundreds of years ago, even thousands of years ago. Let's say over the last few hundred years, people have seen these dragons as well. And up to the modern age, people continue to see these dragons. So, what are they? As we read these accounts, we'll wonder about that. And maybe we'll come up with a few theories that I have, folks, as well. Either way, let's get into it. In Namibia, there's a traditional giant winged serpent that has a glowing gem in its horned head. All right, that's one of them, folks. One of the most dramatic sightings was in 1978, when a French farmer was tending his cattle in the Caris region. He saw a bright white light heading straight towards him. After he had a massive thud and heard his cattle cry out in pain. As he rushed to check what attacked the cow, he saw a dragon. He told the local police, "I saw what looked like," as the best matching description I can give you is that it looked like a dragon. It had a white, bright light on its head, which was blinding me. The color of it was brown yellow, and it had green eyes. There was a tar-like smell coming from it, and it had smoke coming out of its nostrils. Viking folklore full of dragon legends, so the next account should come as no surprise. But that last account was pretty interesting, wasn't it, folks? Yeah, he saw literally basically a classic fantasy dragon. It had a bright light on its head. Well, sort of like this picture here, folks, like it was glowing, which was blinding me. The color of it was brown and yellow. It had green eyes, and there was a tar-like smell coming from its head, and there was smoke coming from its nostrils. I guess the tar-like smell was basically representative of basically in this picture here, like spittle and smoke coming out of its mouth. So, was this really a dragon, folks? That could very well be something else entirely. I've talked before about this one encounter with these fairy-like entities that were basically, well, robotic drones. They basically had wings, but they had little fairy bodies like classic fairies, but they were clearly mechanical, and they were like, well, little statues, only they were flying. The wings didn't move. They were like these mechanical apparatuses that basically glowed and basically levitated these things, and from the descriptions, they sound rather like drones. So this thing, again, this brownish and yellow looking dragon. Maybe it was some sort of drone. Perhaps the light on its head was some sort of hologram emitter. And maybe what this guy saw was maybe some sort of alien drone disguised as a dragon. For what reason? Because that would probably draw more attention to it. Maybe as a way to test maybe the reactions of these people, folks. As I said, folks, maybe in a lot of accounts with people encountering ghosts, cryptids, maybe it's not actually a monster you're seeing. Maybe it's some sort of disguise. Decoration to basically maybe to test people's fear reactions and what they witness and see, maybe by alien beings or by the governments of the world. Well, we don't know. As I said, maybe these governments are in cahoots with aliens, which is another thing. But as I said, folks, for the most part, modern science would say dragons are impossible because they break the square cube law, especially the bigger they are, folks, and that they're so outrageous, so big and muscular, there's no way that their wings could basically allow them to fly. So maybe these aren't actually real dragons, but illusions, perhaps. I'm just asking, folks. I mean, this yellow brownish dragon with green glowing eyes, with glowing light on its head, with smoke coming out of its mouth, with a tar-like smell. Is it really possible that was real, folks, or maybe it was some sort of illusion basically put into this man's mind? This article because we had this other. Yeah, these other stories to read through. And we'll continue where I left off, basically. Viking folklore is full of dragon legends, so the next account should come as no surprise. In 2010, the Icelandic volcano, Ijala Jokogul, erupted, spewing out titanic clouds of ash. Forgive me if I mispronounce this mountain's name, folks, and other names that are basically, more or less foreign. I'm doing my best to read them, but some of these mountains are and some of these names are kind of impossible for me. Anyway, this mountain, this Icelandic volcano in 2010, Ejjadakul, erupted, spewing out titanic clouds of ash into the atmosphere and burning planes for weeks. The local man watched the eruptions flying about the volcano. He realized that what he saw must have been huge due to the great distance he was observing it from. At first, he thought it was a plane. He saw the wings flapping. In an email to Las Thornes, the biologist and cryptozoologist, he said the following: "As I see it, there are only two possible explanations. Either I was imagining the whole thing, or what I saw was in fact a dragon. I find that very hard to believe. But then again, I don't think I could imagine something like that." Okay, folks. Very, very cool. Now, over here, I want to take a quick look, folks. One waiting. I could refresh this page too. We go over here. We have two waiting and stuff like that. And then we go over here as well. Let's see. Let me refresh that. And here we go. So let me try to share these two links out, folks. I'm trying to share a few of them, but they refused to load earlier. Anyway, let's go back to this article. It says that this man here says thought he saw a dragon. But continuing, in the late 20th and early 21st, 21st, in the late 20th and early 21st century, I guess, Kunigkinsing, a mountain in the province of Lampang, Western Java, was thought to be the lair of a dragon. The locals called the Ula Naga, or dragon snake. It was described as resembling a huge snake with a horse-like head and bat wings. The monster terrorized Prince Warren village for years. It stole and ate children, often attacked in broad daylight. The beast would snatch the children whilst their parents were in the fields. One village elder, Duraga, said that the dragon was seen almost daily in the end. The villagers looked at the end of the cave where they thought the creature lurked. After that, the killing stopped, but the people were so scared that they mostly abandoned their homes and moved to other villages. Okay, so this town actually existed. That's if you can village. Take the word possible that indeed children were disappearing and possibly attributed to this dragon, maybe. We have to ask another question, folks. Children went missing. Was it really a dragon that was taking them? Now, I'm not disparaging the fact that this dragon might have been taking them, but as I said earlier, maybe it wasn't actually a dragon. Maybe sort of mechanical apparatus, some sort of drum that resembled a dragon, or maybe you serve a loop or basically hologram technology as a dragon, and it did these children instead of killing them. As I said, folks, it's been well known that the 411 cases that people and children disappear. Maybe this is a similar phenomenon. Remember, there's a notion of the reptilians in caves. So maybe this thing was some sort of mechanical apparatus or maybe a trained animal, perhaps. It abducted these children for basically, well, alien purposes, but instead of returning them, these kids were basically taken away for, well, whatever purpose permanently. I'm just saying, folks, is it really likely that this dragon killed them, if it did exist, or did this dragon even exist at all? Was it just a cover story, perhaps maybe used by maybe some sort of maybe human traffickers, which is also a possibility, or maybe entities that wanted to abduct these people? Tales can basically go out of hand, and you don't get to the real story. Now, maybe this really is an example of such a case where many people were disappearing, children were being abducted. By who? We don't know. Maybe the dragon is just an easy foil to basically blame it on. I'm just bringing it up, folks, because would it be possible that maybe aliens could make people think it was a dragon and then abduct these children? Or the same could be said almost in a Scooby-Doo fashion with criminals. Blame it on local folklore and stuff for their crimes. I'm just telling you, folks. But the fact that apparently the village is now completely abandoned and the cave has been sealed up, well, anyone ever tried to basically open the cave to see what's inside? Would they find anything? I thought they would, but it's an idea. Either way, this story and this legend pretty much have ended there. So God knows what will happen in the future with it, because no one lives in the village anymore, as far as I can tell. So then again, there might still be people there, but considering that most of the people moved out of it, I think this story pretty much ends right there, folks. Right? Let's continue with the next story about dragon encounters. The late fortune teller Linda Godfrey was contacted by witnesses who claimed to have seen dragons in Wisconsin in 2007. One young man she calls Jim, a pseudonym, told her that he and some friends had attended a concert. They were fleeing on the top of their vans and on grass, looking up at the sky, and they all said something. Yeah, when they all saw something strange. All of one across the sky, followed by something even weird, Jim said. We knew it had to be a dragon, because how else would you describe something flying over that was almost silent, larger than a plane, and had a tail, bat-like wings. Had a tail and bat-like wings, long neck and narrow pointed head and scales. I remember noticing the scales because they dimly reflected the streetlights below. We thought we were all seeing things, but 5 minutes later, it flew over again, this time in the opposite direction. Indeed. What about that light it seemed to basically be following? Was this some sort of maybe UFO, perhaps? It sounds almost like a meteor, but I can't be for sure, folks. And this dragon sighting, as I said earlier, maybe it was an illusion, because it seemed to be following a UFO, or maybe somehow this is some sort of an actual alien being, perhaps? Or actually, it is a dragon. We just don't know. Either way, certainly a thrilling story right there, folks. But let's once more continue, because I want to hear the other ones. Linda was later in contact with Jim's mother, who she referred to as Janet. Jim had phoned his mother for a lift and told her what he had seen. Janet thought her son was joking and went to pick him up. She noticed a shadow crossing a parking lot and then saw a fireball, blue with orange around it, shooting from east to west in the sky. Jim told her that he and his friends had seen the same thing before the dragon had arrived. Janet then drove home. This light was also seen again. So, at the very least, maybe Jim here did believe her son to some extent. Linda also spoke to Jim's sister Jill. Jim had talked her into staying up. The pair lay on a trampoline in their backyard, looking up at the sky. They saw a fireball shooting east to west, followed quickly by one moving west to east. Then they heard a loud screech that caused all the local dogs to bark. Then the dragon returned. The creature was flying over only 20 feet above their two-story house. After looking at pictures of pterosaurs, they saw that the wing structure was very different. The family also they took the younger of the larger ones. The creatures seemed to be playing by circling each other. Jill said, "I don't care what scientists say. It was not a pterodactyl. See, it had pearly white skin. Yeah." And the fireball, they were beautiful and flew gracefully. I could see that they had 4 legs too. They were tucked up beneath them like when a bird flies. So they were basically this is a mock-up. They didn't look really like, I guess, like pterodactyls here. I mean, these look more like pterodactyls. So I guess the guy who made this picture got a bit confused. They said they were somewhat similar to this, and they were breathing fire too. So I guess if you saw something like this, you'd call it a pterodactyl. I could see that, folks. It does sort of look like that, but breathing fire, that's awful out there. So was the fire that basically Jim and basically Janet saw, was this caused by this dragon being? Maybe. It does look similar and different as well. So let's continue onward and basically read a bit more. This case is interesting because the creature is described as a true dragon having 4 legs and 2 wings. As I said, folks, 4 legs. So yeah, this is clearly more pterodactyl-like. So it looked like basically a classic European dragon. However, most screen depictions of dragons these days make the mistake of only giving them 2 legs, technically making them weave-ins. Here it seems the witnesses were not influenced by the media. Indeed, folks. There are just a few of the many stories I have collected. They may seem absurd, but are they any more absurd than other fortunate phenomena, such as encounters with aliens and spaceships, falls of fish, or spirits of the dead? Indeed, folks. But what about Great Britain? In 2023, multiple witnesses saw dragons at Waverly, Abbey, firemen, and conducting an ongoing investigation into this case. Jim Downs first alerted me that the group of people, ghosthunters from the South Coast Ghosts group, had been at the Abbey conducting a ghost research on the evening in question, when all of them saw some very strange flying creatures. The Abbey itself was founded in 1128 by Bishop William Gifford and was a functioning Cistercian Abbey, Cistercian Abbey, until it fell victim to Henry VIII's dissolution in 1536. I arranged an interview. I arranged an interview. One of the witnesses at the site itself, and together with fellow fortune Jackie Tunks, traveled to Shuri. The witness was a Polish lady named Dora, second name on record. She and her mother met us at the Abbey and interviewed her. Using a Ouija board in the cloister of the Abbey at about 9 in the evening, the planchette has spilled out the name Zozo. For those not in the know, Zozo was a supposed demonic entity contacted by American Darren Evans in 2009. Parents distinctly claimed the entity was behind all kinds of havoc in his life. He recorded the story of on the site True Ghost Tales. Zozo became somewhat of an internet meme for a while, and even had a horror film made about it. The name first appeared in 1816 book, The Infernal Dictionary by Jacques Custy Simon Colon. And the Infernal Dictionary by Jacques Custy Simon de Plancy. 3 entities. However, the author rejects the story as false because the girl been punished for false claims of demonic possession. This entity might not be real, folks, but then again, maybe we're wrong about that. Or it could be an entity basically going for its land. A demon? Well, demons are liars. It could basically be, assuming the name basically confuse and basically mislead people. Then again, how this basically relates to dragons, let's read on and find out. As the modern story can be tracked, and Darren Evans, the story is probably a hoax, and Zozo has no more reality than the Cylinder Man, the Rake, or the Dybbuk box. Indeed, folks. After ending the Ouija session, the group tried table turning on a purple table with fold-up legs. All right, that sounds interesting. Once their hands were on the table, it shook violently and the legs snapped shut. So, was this some sort of supernatural activity, or was it just a hoax as well, folks? Let's read on. The group then moved over to the large yew tree in the grounds of the Abbey. Now, it was about 10 in the evening. Glancing over to some woods around 200 meters or 650 feet away, Dora saw a huge flying creature emerge. Bake around in the air, then dive back into the woods. Its wings were bat-like and 10 meters or 33 feet across, measured against the trees. None of the others saw this. All right. Now, before I continue, let's go back over here. 3 watching, so that's pretty good. 4 watching, okay, 7 watching. Let's go refresh that then. And let me see this. We have 2 watching, so, all right. Not too bad. Let's continue. We have 3, 5, 6, 7. All right, not bad. 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's continue with the article, folks. All right. None of the others apparently that Dora saw this flying creature that she described to, or she described it as a dragon, which was what she witnessed. She saw it before it basically flew out. She saw it as it flew out of the woods and flew back in. None of her friends, she said, never her friends, she said, saw it as like she did. So let's continue where I left off, or basically continue with these dragon stories, folks. Either way, then another smaller creature flew into view, much closer. Dora said it was a man-sized, about 6 feet long, with a 10-foot wingspan. Again, the wings were bat-like. It seemed to be dark brown in color. The creature landed on the ruins of the Abbey at the south transept. She did not get a look at the head of the creature, but saw a long tail that ended at Arrowhead Point. The beast then flew off. Then the geese in a nearby river were screaming at the time. She produced a rough sketch of what she saw. Okay, this sounds like another typical dragon sign, but only sounds basically no more bigger than a human, but still very interesting. But I have to say, folks, it was no more bigger than a human. Was it really a dragon or a flying humanoid that she saw? She didn't see that. She didn't saw its face that done this creature, but we can assume maybe it was more human-like. This creature could basically be confused with a flying humanoid rather than a dragon. Maybe it was a flying gargoyle, perhaps. There have been gargoyle signs that have taken place over the years as well, folks. But from the description, it does sound more dragon-like. Dragon-like to me, at least. I'll say that much. Anyway, Dora admitted to being very frightened at the time. She told me, I did not believe in dragons before, but now I certainly do. See, I spoke with Hindus, explained to her that dragons were thousands of years older than the Christians, or indeed any conceptions of demons. But that didn't mean they didn't exist already. That doesn't mean that, well, these dragons are demons either. So I'll leave that all up to you to decide. Some days later, I arranged to talk to some of the other witnesses in a Zoom call. Here's another picture, basically a mock-up of what you saw, and yet it's another interesting dragon. This time, though, apparently the dragon has 3 lumps. It has 2 legs and an arm, but I don't see the other arm. I see its wings, though. How very strange. Either way, is this what you saw, folks? We can't be for sure. It's, as it says, it's a drawing, not the drawing that I think Dora made, but a computer-generated image and stuff like that to get an idea. Either way, let's say this creature is more bigger than a human. Still terrifying as hell, folks, wouldn't it be? Either way, we can't be for sure. But once again, let's read some more. Darren Graham said that the group met about 7 in the at the Abbey on the way from the car park. Saw 2 white lights in the sky shot away fast. In the cloisters, he was using a 3-field meter, Mach 3, to detect fields. The meter was, in his words, going mad. It then went to another part of the Abbey. Later, when they did this, the Ouija board session, one guy thought his late mother was trying to contact him through Darren, though Darren was skeptical of this. Another member, like Luke Sturgis, caught a glimpse of 2 dark things swooping about in the sky. He also felt that the thing coming from this board was demonic and not the other member's mother. Perhaps. And I have to say, after I agree with these men, they should be very, hesitant about this. They were in contact with some sort of entity. It was probably demonic. It doesn't mean it was These were something else, maybe fairy-like or dragon-like, maybe not demonic. We can't be for sure. I'm still on the fence about this activity here, folks. It could be either demonic or basically benign. Benign, basically, as far as basically fairies and dragons can be, folks. If it's fairies, they might basically not. They might not be demonic, but they aren't nice. Let's continue and wonder, and basically, let's continue and basically continue wondering about these stories. I remember Luke stories. We read his thing, folks. So let me skip down this. During the table tipping, the table was thrown about violently, and they all uneasy. They didn't know what was causing it. Maybe the dragons caused it. Maybe perhaps. Can't be for sure. The group moved to the yew tree and tried the board again. A member called Nigel wanted to try the board again under the tree. The geese started to make a noise. Then another member cried, "Look at that!" About 100 feet away, above the ruins, and flying toward them was the big black creature. It was long and its back. Well, it had a long. I guess it had. It says it was long and. Let's say it had a long neck and basically a scaly back, because he just said it was long and back. Either way, it had a long neck or a long body and it was black, or it meant that it had a long neck and basically a scaly looking back, perhaps, or long neck as well. And it made a fruit bat like tinny. So it basically made this sort of loud, basically screechy noise as well, sort of like basically as a dragon or basically like a bat. Like this sort of, maybe like but roar like, but more basically tinny, as it says, like basically almost like a breathing sound, but also basically almost like it's like maybe air passing through your nostrils, like it, and as it was flying towards them. That would truly frighten anyone if you saw this flying at you, folks, and was making this noise. You don't know what it is. And certainly it might be saying food for all you know. Either way, this is what basically Darren here described. Its body was almost 6 feet long, so basically about the same, and it had about 8 feet across. While Dora said it was about 10 feet across with the wings. Either way, as it drew close, it turned its long neck to look at them. Then it turned on its axis and flew back the way it came. Nigel said Zozo was on the board when the creature appeared, though I'm not inclined to give this any relevance to what being seen. Indeed, folks, I don't know if this was Zozo, but then again, I can't be for sure. Darren said the wings were bat-like and were adamant that the thing was not a goose, swan, heron, or cormorant. He thought he saw legs. The body. But it could not be. He did not notice eyes, and as the creature did open its mouth, as the creature did not open its mouth, he saw no teeth. But he wanted to investigate in closer. He said that it was useless to try and use his as it was too dark. He said, "I've thought of every other option. It's not something normal that would have been around at night. Indeed, does not sound like that, folks." He said this she was in the cloisters when she thought she heard children's voices calling mom, I guess. The geese made a noise. And the geese also made some noises, folks, which is basically something we read just in Dora and Darren's story here, folks, or with Dora's story. She heard the geese were making noise, but Julie Pulley here says that she heard children, I guess, calling mom. Either way, that's kind of horrifying. Now, it sounds like when you hear basically children making noise like mom, either it's a lost child, or in some cases, folks, some people feel that what they think is children saying something is basically something else making the sounds of children calling for their mother, trying to get you out into the woods alone. Maybe this is what this was doing when he was trying to call Julie Pulley out into the woods and attack her, perhaps. The other way, folks, that's something very interesting. What would happen if she was actually attacked by this creature? Would you abduct her or kill her? If this was indeed basically some kind of abduction that could have taken place, folks, is it an alien abduction? As I said, folks, maybe what they saw was indeed maybe some sort of a reptilian being with wings on it, and was an alien being as well. Remember, it was no more bigger, it was no taller than 6 feet, so maybe it was sort of a reptilian being, or reptilian alien, actually. And the wings it had, either it was natural, maybe it was wearing some sort of apparatus that allowed it to fly. We don't know. Remember, Dora couldn't actually describe its face. So we don't know. And basically, Darren here basically didn't give a look at it. Only says that it looks rather menacing and dragon-like. Either way, very interesting though, folks. But Julie Puller said that she heard children calling for mom. And she heard the geese that were making a noise as well. So a lot of things were going on, and these witnesses didn't really know exactly what to make of it. But let's continue on. When they moved to the trees, she heard somebody say, "Look at that." Looking up, she saw what she thought was a bat circling, and thought, "My God, that's the biggest bat I've ever seen." The creature's wings looked bat-like, but did not beat as fast as a bat's. Yeah. They basically did beat, but not as fast as a bat's. The wings moved more like a bird's, despite being structured like a bat's. It had a long neck. It had a long tail and a long thin head. The creature looked black, but when caught in the moonlight or by torchlight, it was silver in color. Something was trailing, maybe legs. The creature landed in the yew trees before taking off again, and a second one flew by the ruins. And a second one flew by the ruins, indeed. She tried to take a picture on her phone, but all she got was a whitish blob, she said. It had bat wings rather than bird wings. I've not seen anything like it. It looked pudgy when in the tree, but long and slender in flight. Okay, yeah. It looked pudgy because it was all pulled up, probably with its wings basically folded up. But when it was flying, it was long and slender, she says. Or maybe this indeed isn't entirely, folks. Maybe it was some sort of shapeshifter. As I said, folks, in some accounts, basically UFOs and basically other cryptid encounters, these beings can change form. Maybe she indeed saw this creature as pudgy because it was pudgy, but when it basically took flight, it shifted its form to a more slender form to fly. Because it was all folded up in the tree. It was all basically crouched down. When it flew, it just basically stretched itself out and it flew, and it was all graceful looking. Because that's what basically happens when you see some birds, other animals that can basically take flight. They look basically pudgy at first, but when they fly, they're all graceful looking and maybe slender. Either way, that's what she's described, folks. But let's continue, because now we have Julie felt afraid of the creature, and they felt that they could easily swoop down and kill her. Not that they actually did, folks, but I can understand why she felt afraid. Luke Sturgis did not get a good look at the creatures. He did see that they had bat wings, and when no one landed in the U, he could see us. And when one landed in the U, he could see a silvery eye shine as it looked at him. So it basically had glowing silvery eyes, or basically its eyes were silver. Interesting. Luke said that he was at the hanging tree, engaging in table tipping when he thought he saw a bat. It soon resolved a massive flying animal with a 10-foot wingspan and a long tail. It had a long neck and pointed head. Okay, so it was pointed. So it does sound like a dragon-like head there, folks. But did he actually get a good look at it? Can he basically give it any real details? Either way, he continues to say the creature flew into the tree. When he shone his torch at it, he saw the long tail with the arrowhead point. So literally, this dragon's tail literally ended in an arrowhead. That sounds almost so fantastical, doesn't it, folks? He produced a sketch of the creature showing its bat-like wings and long tail. He was convinced it was not any kind of bird. Doesn't sound like a bird to me either, folks. I was impressed by the lack of exaggeration in the witness's account. There were no gnashing teeth or a flaming breath. They just reported what they saw with no dressing. As Darren said, they were looking for ghosts. Dragons were the last thing they expected to see. Neither is there a dragon legend associated with Abbey. Well, there is now. I say that Jackie Tonks and I need to meet with some more of the witnesses at the Abbey to try and recreate what the group was doing on the night. Not every one of the original 10 witnesses could make it out. But Darren, Julie, Dora, and the two Lukes were able to join us just before sunset at the Abbey. So there were two Lukes, actually, or two men named Luke at the time, and stuff like that. Interesting. When he saw a large heron fishing nearby, and Darren confirmed that the flying creatures he saw looked nothing like it. This does not look like what we saw. It was not a heron. It was not a bird. It had scales and it flew. And stuff like that. And it was flying at night. Do herons fly at night? Perhaps, maybe, and stuff like that. But I would not basically. Most birds don't, folks. So this thing was flying around at night, and it looked very. There are owls, and maybe England does have owls, but this doesn't sound anything like an owl either. So make it what Darren saw, folks. It sounds dragon-like to me. from their descriptions. But once again, let's continue. As darkness fell, we had a Ouija board session. The planchette indicated that a dragon would manifest that night, but then discontinued nonsense. So basically, the Ouija board even said that there's going to be a dragon sighting that night. Interesting. He goes on to say, "I'm skeptical about Ouija boards, as in my experience, they seldom make any sense. Well, in his experience, in his words, they seldom make sense. But this time, apparently, they did make sense because literally a dragon did appear. So, wow. This actually a demon books. From the description, it could be any number of supernatural creatures that could have done this. Dragons, perhaps. Maybe it was a demon, fairy, perhaps. Maybe. Let's continue. Later, we tried a table turning with a small fold-up table. Several of us lightly put our hands on the rest of the table. It began to jerk after a while, and then it would rise up on two. Then one leg would spin around. I felt to see how this was happening naturally. We were not gripping the sides, just gently laying our fingers upon it. A little later, I glanced at a tree line some 250 meters or 820 feet away. This was not the small tree line that Dora saw. The huge bat winged in me. For a split second, I saw a black shape that seemed to fall in the trees. I could not make a shape. It was just a black mass. However, it was visible against the night sky and would have to be of a decent size for me to see it from so far away. Shortly after, from the same general area came a very strange noise that I can best describe as a moaning howl. So once more that teeming noise, folks, or the morning growl, I guess, a moaning growl. So once again, he's heard this and he didn't make a noise. Along with the glowing silver eyes, I can see this and tail and wings. I can see why these people thought it was indeed a dragon, because it does sound like one. Either way, it was unlike any wild animal or indeed any livestock I have ever heard of. I make no claim that this was a dragon vocalizing or indeed that it was paranormal. I just couldn't identify it. Indeed, folks. I would say that it was indeed some sort of animal, some sort of natural animal, and they might have made a mistake. But from the descriptions, I'm not quite sure they did. But then again, they could have made a mistake in this. Maybe it really was just some sort of ordinary animal. Do birds get mange, folks? Because if they do, maybe this is what they saw. Maybe it was some sort of bird that lost its feathers and looked rather dragon-like to them. And when they saw it, it looked literally very menacing and stuff like that. Otherwise, maybe it was something else entirely. I just don't know. But from the sound of it, it does sound like they were describing a dragon here, folks. But moving on to what the witness saw next. Whilst working near the train, bright golden light about the size of a pea. It whizzed past my face about 3 feet away. So the witness here also, not only did he witness one of these dragons, or should I say both of these dragon manifestations, he also saw Will of the Wisp. Basically, these this energy, this light energy, this being that could possibly have been a fairy there as well. It whizzed past my face about 3 feet away, dragging it. Can't tell behind it. The sighting only lasted a couple of seconds. Nothing further happened. That night we finally left at about midnight. Too bad. If they stayed, do you think anything else would have happened? Maybe. So what is occurring at Waverly Abbey? There seems to be several phenomena, weird creatures, strange light, and poltergeist activity all occurring in what may be a new window. Indeed, folks, maybe it is a new window area. John Downs thinks this may be the most important UK fortune flap since the Oldman saga. Indeed, it is. I think it's highly unlikely the witnesses were lying. Indeed, folks, I don't think they were lying about seeing dragon. I think they did saw it. Yeah, because we have the almond saga, and now we have this new dragon saga. Yeah, so I think it's highly unlikely the witnesses were lying. They seemed genuinely scared by what they had seen. They were ghosts, and dragons were the last thing in their minds. Indeed, could they have mistaken large birds? Britain's largest native bird, the great busted can, the great busted bastard. No, it's the great busted can have a wingspan of 8 feet 10 inches and a weight of about 46 pounds. They are found only in Wiltshire in the UK, and there are about 100 of them living there after a reintroduction program. Okay, how far away is that exactly, folks? It doesn't sound like they're close to this part where they saw these dragons down there in Waverly Abbey. What I'm trying to say, folks, is it sounds like these bustards, these great bustard birds, or maybe not even remotely close to where these dragon sightings took place. Other large birds found in the UK include mute and whooper swans, golden and white-tailed eagles, common cranes, gray herons, European eagle owls, and Canada geese. But none of these have bat-like wings or have long tails ending in arrow-shaped points. Does it sound like those all? The HBO TV series House of the Dragon, technically House of the Weaving, the prequel to Game of Thrones, was filmed in Bourne Woods, some 1,000 meters, 3,280 feet from the Abbey in 2023. The filming took place from August to October and wrapped long before the sighting of December 27th. Indeed. Yeah. Battle scenes were filmed there as well as a blue screen on which a CGI weaving could later be animated. All the weavings in House of the Dragon were CGI, so none of them could be used as an explanation for sightings of dragons at Waverly Abbey. Indeed, flying remote-controlled dragons were not used in the production at all. Remote-controlled pterosaurs, some life-sized, have been built in the past, but in flight they look stiff and unreal, and they cannot land in trees and Abbey ruins and they can't crawl either. So we can't discount this. The filming of a fantasy series in the area is simply synchronicity. Indeed, I think that's true as well. I do not think the dragons people are reporting from around the world are flesh and blood animals. I kind of think that some of them are, though. But then again, maybe there's more to than just basically the magic and basically flesh and blood. Maybe there's something else entirely going on here as well, folks. Yeah, they're not flesh and blood animals in the way a crocodile or an anaconda is. If these plain-sized things inhabited our world full time, they would be seen regularly, not to mention turning up on the radar. Maybe some sort of, maybe these entities, whatever they are, maybe all I can say is I can surmise about what they are, folks. So let's read a bit more before I give you my idea. If these creatures did exist, they would be attacking aircraft, carrying people off, and burning down cities. Are you sure about that? Are you sure that dragons are that violent? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. The dragon in feel is, for want of a better term, a paranormal manifestation. Or maybe it's an interdimensional interloper, perhaps, as well. That's my idea there, folks. Maybe these entities manifest from another reality into ours. Anyway, getting back to where I left off, dragons are real, but not just a different kind of real. They are part of what I call the global monster template. Indeed, maybe as well, folks. Maybe these are some sort of tulpas or interdimensional envelopes, and they manifest into our reality, as I said. The global monster template is a theory I developed in Thailand in 2000 while searching for giant snakes in the Mekong. Every culture seems to have the same kinds of monsters in their folklore: dragons, hairy giants, monstrous dogs, giant birds, little people, and monstrous cats turn up in stories from all over the world. The global monster template may have its genesis back in the middle of time in our own evolutionary past. Several million years ago, our Australopithecine ancestors on the plains of East Africa had struggled to survive. Our ancestors were upon by and were in competition with various creatures. Crocodiles and pythons ate them, as did big cats, African hunting dogs, and large birds of prey such as eagles. They competed against other primates such as giant baboon and other races, some larger than them. All of these creatures can be studied nicely in the universal monster template. Mortality and have a concept of death and the fact that they too would one day die, something that could happen at the drop of a hat in such a deadly predator-filled environment. The concept of fossil memories runs that modern-day organisms, including humans, retain behavior developed for dealing with predators and competitors from our ancient past. These behavioral quirks are passed down in our genes. An example is how in homes with more than one story, the bedroom is almost always upstairs. This is a throwback to sleeping in trees to avoid predators, as well as behavior. Latent fear are passed down too. We associate black with evil and villains dressed in black. This is due to a primordial fear of the dark. The vision of hunting predators like leopards is acute. Our ancestors were at a disadvantage. The global monster template is formed from the ancient terrors of our early African ancestors. From the ancient terrors of our early African ancestors, passed down in our genes through millions of years. Early African ancestors, huh? Yeah. through millions of years. Interesting. From generation to generation, through species to species, even after 3 million years of more of evolution, those fears remain with us. The Buddhist monks of, well, yeah. The Buddhist monks of Tibet, Nepal, and other parts of the Orient have long claimed to be able to create tangible objects with the power of their minds alone, through deep concentration and extreme mental discipline. It is said that they can create a kind of spirit being, artificial ghost, if you will, that is so convincing that it is often mistaken for a real person or animal. These these mind beings are called tulpas. Indeed, folks, maybe that's what these things are, tulpas. Basically, some are created through people's belief, and these entities that can also basically be called egregores. See, a tulpa is basically what is the belief of one person manifesting the reality. An egregore is basically some people believing the same thing, and basically through this combined belief manifests into reality. Indeed, these figures, these entities that we witness, maybe they are tulpas, some sort of spiritual entities created through people's belief and basically power of belief, and manifest into physical reality. It's possible, folks. At least I say so. Either way, let's continue. Westerners have experimented with them to varying degrees of success. One example is the famous Philip experiment carried out in Toronto, Canada, by a group called the Toronto Society for Psychical Research. It was led by parapsychologist Dr. A.R. George Owen and psychologist Dr. Joel Whitten. Its aim was to create an artificial ghost using the mind powers of participants. They gave their fake ghost a background, but seemed to break away from them. It seems that the artificial ghosts were created by the power of the group's mind working together. Maybe it did. Sometimes it seems that even fictional characters can leave the page and be seen by them. John Constantine, comic book writer Alan Moore. We don't have to go back and we don't have to talk about Alan Moore and his current hang-ups, folks. So let's just skip over them and talk about how Alan Moore and basically may have seen John Constantine, the character he created. Yeah, Alan Moore basically created him and debuted. Yeah, I should say this character, John Constantine, debuted in issue 37 of the DC comic Swamp Thing in 1985. Constantine is a working-class British occultist from Liverpool. He bears a strong resemblance to Sting, the singer of the band The Police, unshaven, wearing a long raincoat, and depicted as constantly having a fag hanging from his lips, basically a cigarette. Constantine is like a cross between Gene Hunt from the TV series Life on Mars and Steer Pike from Raven's Peak, Gothic fantasy Titus Crone. Interesting then. Very interesting. Because I already know who basically John Constantine is. But either way, Alan Moore, Jamie Delino, Peter Milligan, and Brian Azzaleo all claim to have met and in some cases even spoken with the fictional John Constantine. And basically, folks, yeah, some of them basically can't understand what they think, but they saw someone or basically met someone and talked to him that was exactly what they basically who they knew as John Constantine. I can understand that, folks. Either way, the medium Frank Klatsky, 1873, who died in 1943, was said to materialize creatures at seances. These include huge bird-like nightjar. These include a huge bird like a nightjar, a massive black dog, a lion like a big cat, and an ape man. It was almost as if he was tapping into the global monster template. Maybe he was, folks. Either way, continuing with the article, I experimented with tulpa creation whilst in my student digs in Leeds in the 1990s, focusing on Athalanachia, a fictional spider god created by the writer Clark Ashton Smith. The results were surprising to say the least, but that is an article on itself. If one mind or a handful of minds in intense concentration can create a tulpa, what could be the gestalt unconsciousness the gestalt unconsciousness of mankind as a whole do? Indeed, folks, if we what our unconscious minds do in reality? Could they basically create these things, little cloth, they could manifest wholly? Maybe. I mean, a person themselves, one person, better all of us basically believe in these things. What happens then? Yeah. Either way, it's something to think on. But continuing, Robert Sheldrake postulated shared morphogenic fields. He hypotheorized, he proposed changes. Information were shared in a subconscious level between the whole species. When individuals pick up advantageous behavioral is incorporated into the gestalt. He believed that this was passed on by resonance, or they're like the way of the energy wave from a plucked string on an instrument. Basically, it moves out from one person to other people, like as I said, like a sound wave, I guess. It can resonate onto another string on the same instrument that has not been plucked. This works because part of the unplugged string has the potential to resonate at frequencies in common with a vibrating string, and thus can resonate in harmony. In music, this is called harmonic resonance. Seldom called his biological analog morphic resonance. Maybe it's indeed real, folks, and somehow this spreads out from other people, and this is like basically like a sound wave. This could explain why some people see things, maybe somehow spreads out from them, and basically seems to affect people, and they themselves, this belief basically allows them to manifest these entities into reality as well. Indeed, it could be an idea there, folks. Either way, we have to continue, folks. This would seem to be the ideal way for gigantic racial thought forms to occur. Perhaps we should seek the origin of dragons and other monsters in the jungles of our own minds and in the fossil memories handed down to us in their genes from our remote ancestors. UFOs and ghosts may stem from the confusing new lights seen in the night sky by our once jungle-dwelling primate ancestors and their own awakenings to the nature of death. Remember, folks, for thousands and maybe millions of years, if we believe that we were basically once apes, folks, yeah, they themselves probably saw these lights in the sky, and maybe they were meteors, and maybe on some level, this belief in them basically passed down through the generations to what we know as the modern UFO era. And when what we see now, maybe these UFOs are indeed maybe just more manifestations of our minds, folks, literally conjured whole cloth in reality from our belief. Perhaps. Now, when these ancient horrors reemerge, they seem to take on a palpable form for a time. Is this where some of these stranger monster reports have their genesis? Maybe. There's, however, another possibility about the nature of monsters, ghosts, UFOs, and other strange things. A disquieting one, namely that they are truly real, not products of our minds, but fully independent and from other dimensions. As I said earlier, folks, there's the Tulpa hypothesis, and there's also the interdimensional interloper hypothesis. These creatures are real, but they manifest from another reality. And basically, the Tulpa and interdimensional interloper hypothesis can basically be conjoined as well, folks. Basically saying that these entities, if they are from another reality, maybe it's our belief in them that allows them to manifest into ours. So like a Tulpa, but they actually exist independent of us and another reality. So it's the fact that we believe in them that allows them to basically be seen by us in this reality. Either way, that's the idea. The idea of other realities that coexist with ours is not new. In the Dark Ages, this place was called Fairyland. In the Victorian era, it was known as the astral plane, but they also believed in heaven and hell, which is also basically similar to the other dimension as well, folks. So remember that too. In the Victorian era, it was known as the astral plane. Modern writers have many names for it. John Keel calls it the super spectrum. Jeremy Clark, the outer edge, and F.W. Holliday, the Goblin universe. This elsewhere is a postulated domain of just about every monster, phantom, and weird entity from ever reported. Irish poet and author W.B. Yeats studied esoteric and occult subjects and spoke of the Ghost Club several times about his experiences. Fairyland actually exists as an invisible world within which the visible world is immersed, like an island in an unexplored ocean, and is peopled by more species of living beings than this world because it is incomparably more vast and varied in its possibilities. Indeed, I believe that too, folks. And Islam, it's more varied in its possibilities. In Islamic lore, there's a race of demons known as the jinn. Now, they're not jinn aren't actually demons, folks. They're jinn. They're basically these spiritual, entities that basically aren't demons and stuff like that. This guy made a mistake there. I'll just say that. Either way, the jinn, also known as not demons, they're known as genies. That's what the jinn are, folks. Either way, this is where the Western concept of the genie is derived from. The jinn were not one type of creature, but came in as many kinds as there are animals in our dimension. The Quran devotes a whole chapter to them. The jinn are made from smokeless fire, which could be translated in modern parlance to energy. They're said to inhabit our world, but are usually invisible to us, and we to them. Sometimes the veil slips, and the jinn are seen. Indeed. The jinn comes in many forms. Other Muslims have told me quite independently that the main jinn forms are dragons and huge serpents, huge black dogs with glowing eyes, ape-like beasts, huge birds, and massive black cats. They are right out of the glowing template. Hindus call the same age rakshas, shape-shifting demons. Oh, okay, but they point to an interesting factor of monster sightings in their book, Earth's Secret Inhabitants. You know that the monsters resemble real animals, either living or extinct. Odd creatures of the types of life forms that, Odd creatures of the types of life forms that populate the Earth. These creatures represent the outcome of some evolutionary process paralleling life on this planet, but not exactly corresponding to it. Indeed, to some extent, maybe these creatures are maybe other dimensional or interdimensional, and this is why while these creatures resemble snakes, dogs, men, because their evolution went different, and they basically became these nearly spiritual, or basically other dimensional beings. They basically are also different as well. That's why Bigfoot, while looking like an ape man, is quite different from what we describe as what we know as ape man in our evolutionary knowledge, folks. And they have and stuff like that. It's different. It's why basically these giant snakes or lizards or dragons also are similar to what we have here on Earth. They're snakes, but they're bigger, more brawnier, and basically far more brutal than what we have here on Earth. And why these dragons literally have wings and basically fly around. Because we do have lizards and we have other things. We have basically monitor lizards and other giant or basically monitor dragons, but they're clearly just lizards, not actually really like dragons at all. They don't have wings, they don't fly around, and they certainly don't breathe fire. So as I said, folks, maybe these creatures are products of evolution, but from a different reality that somehow then manifests into ours. Either way, it's an idea. In other words, as we get back to the article, folks, the monsters come from not from some other sphere, but from a parallel reality within our own. Central to the idea of magic is the idea of other worlds that coexist in a subtle way with ours. And I extrapolate on these theories in my new book, The Highest Strangeness. For now, the investigation into the dragons of Waverly Abbey is ongoing. It will be interesting to see where it leads, but I will leave you with this unsettling thought that dragons seem unsatisfied to lurk only in ancient legends and the pages of storybooks. It seems like they are returning to what passes for the real world, Richard Freeman, and maybe I hope they are. Here's a note, though, folks. Waverly Abbey is the first sistering abbey in England. We read that before, folks. Yeah, we read that before. It was founded in 1128 by Richard Gifford, the Bishop of Winchester. Winchester, located about 2 miles southeast of Farnham, Surrey. It is situated on a floodplain surrounded by current and previous channels of the River Wey. And maybe that in South, folks, remember, a lot of these window areas, they are situated near water. So maybe that also plays a hand in this as well. Indeed, folks, whatever happened here, these people witnessed something far beyond, and people continue to witness. Are they real? Are dragons real? Are other creatures as well, folks? We just don't know. I believe they are. I believe that dragons are real. Because I believe in everything. I believe in magic, science, aliens. I believe in all this stuff, folks. I believe that this stuff is indeed out there and exists. Unfortunately, it might be impossible to actually prove it exists, because if indeed, if they're tulpas or interdimensional interlopers, that might be impossible to actually prove to anyone. But I have my belief, and that's different from actually proving it, folks. Well, and that's the thing, folks. You have to actually prove if you want to exist, that these things exist. You have to prove that they do exist. And it's still, people will still people will still basically not believe you until you can actually prove it. Unfortunately, as I said, folks, these things, they are ethereal and somewhat magical, so it might be impossible to basically prove. Either way, I can only surmise and hope that one day they can be. Either way, folks, we're at the end. So please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. If they're spelled, it's THRE. It's Read Comics They're Bad. It's supposed to be Read Comics They're Bad For You. I purposely misspelled there in the title of my YouTube channel as THRE, just a regular there. So go subscribe to Read Comics They're Bad For You. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell that will give you all future notifications. And please share this video. Now, folks, go to on YouTube and on YouTube. Dark Sayings is like the Art Bell radio show, or like my own show. He talks about high strangeness, like basically what we talked about with aliens and basically dragons and fairies and stuff like tonight, folks. But he also talks about, God, religious demons, and all that stuff, and what people see. And every time we watch one of his live streams, you have a fun time. He also does short videos on all this weird stuff as well, folks. But his live streams, they're just great. He does them around 10 o'clock p.m. at night. And what's more, every time you watch one of them, you learn something new about the world of the paranormal. So go subscribe to Dark Sayings on YouTube and on BitChute. Then go subscribe to Robot Co-op. Robot Co-op is like that. It's a live streaming gaming channel, but it's very much in the spirit of that old TV show, Mystery Science Theater 3000. You know that old TV show where that guy is trapped in outer space with these two wisecracking robots, and they roast bad movies. Well, Robot Co-op is like that, only it's a live stream gaming channel, as I said, folks. But they do have their own wisecracking robots as well. Either way, watching their live streams is just fun as hell. It's like being at a party. You sit back, eat something, you drink something, and watch these guys have fun playing video games, both good games and bad games, and roast them as they're playing them and having a good time. Either way, it's just great. And I love their live streams on Sunday on Twitch, folks, because they're just so much fun to watch. So go subscribe to Robot Co-op on YouTube. Yeah, go subscribe to Robot Co-op on YouTube and on BitChute. And on YouTube and on Twitch is what I meant. Go subscribe to Stitched to Give the Picks. Stitched to Give the Picks is a horror movie review channel hosted by the maniacal cinephile who has more than one personality. You're not just getting one character here, folks. You're getting a whole lot of them. All of them are fun. Go subscribe to Stitched to Give the Picks up on YouTube, folks. Because, just do so, folks. Either way, I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Please use the links down below in the description of the chat. I left them down there. I left links to YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch or BitChute, Dark Saints, Robot Co-op, and Stitch to Give the Picks. Remember, I'll be back soon with 2 exclusive live streams up on Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, and BitChute soon. In fact, my next live stream will probably be up. Let me try that again. In fact, my next live stream will be up on Odyssey, Rumble, and BitChute very soon. So use those links and go subscribe to me. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. We had some fun. I'll be back soon, as I said, folks, and we will have some more fun. Until then, as usual, folks, well, bye. Here we go. See you later, folks.